Okay, so if you're anything like me, you've probably looked at a piece of Patagonia clothing and said, why is that so expensive? Very, very pricey, right? We're talking $100 for a sweater on average. We're talking 40, $50 for a t-shirt, $100 for a pair of jeans. It seems inordinately expensive, but I'm going to tell you why Patagonia clothing is actually worth the price. And I made a video on Patagonia clothing a little while ago. I want to kind of follow up on it, add some extra detail, kind of expand a little bit more. This is a Polartec regulator fleece that I have had. Actually, Patagonia made this a while ago. It's made in the United States, which is fantastic. I bought this used. It was already several years old when I bought it. I've worn it through, I think, 3 winters now, which is actually a lot, and it has held up extremely well. It's got elastic bands on the arm, which are still fantastic. Great hold to their shape. It really ventilates very well, but it keeps you plenty warm. It's got great big mesh pockets, which have not torn at all. It's got a collar that really keeps you warm as well. And it's just all around a nice piece. So why is this worth the price? Because this was $100 when I bought it used, and that was when it was a couple of years old. You might think that's crazy. Why would you pay that much? Well, here's the thing. Patagonia, what am I saying? It's worth every penny, okay? Every single penny. And I want to kind of run down a list here, but I want to start out with one thing in particular that really makes Patagonia worth its weight in gold, and that is Patagonia's Iron-Clad warranty. Now, Patagonia stands behind their clothing. They're arguably one of the least profit-driven companies. And if you're wondering why a lot of clothing brands, fast fashion, etc., has seemingly become worse quality over time, it's because it has. A lot of brands really do cut costs over time. The clothing that you would get back in the 80s and even 90s is, different than the clothing you see today. And that's because fast fashion, what was kind of in its infancy, right? If we're talking about brands, I won't mention too many specifically, but for example, there are a lot of online retailers now, and there's a very loud car going by, that do more so drop shipping than anything else. They've got inexpensive clothing. Some of it's from, Alibaba, stuff like that. And the quality just isn't awesome. Um, Patagonia is sort of anti-fast fashion, if you want to think about it like that. They are a company that is not obsessed with, ever increasing the profit margins. They do well, but they're not obsessing over that. And that gives them a unique edge, where a lot of their clothing over the years doesn't change a whole lot, okay? And that's another advantage that I'll try to cover later on in this video. But it is something where they stand behind it. And for that reason, they have a warranty where they will replace the item or repair it, okay? Some items are repaired for a price. Some are repaired, sort of out of the goodness of Patagonia's own heart. Their warranty process is incredible. They have used clothing, and I think that also carries the warranty that they sell. It is just really, really solid. So if you have a sweater that you paid $200 for, which again, it's pricey, okay, but it lasts 10 years and then starts to wear down, and you say, hey, Patagonia, I love this sweater. This is fantastic. It's one of my favorites. They're probably going to say, okay, well, let's see if we can repair that. Maybe we can replace that. And it is just so rare to see a company nowadays that really just stands behind their products so ardently, right? They really are obsessed with quality, and I think that's such a huge advantage. So the first thing that I really like is the warranty. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is durability. Now, like I said, I bought this sweater used. Was it really cheap? No, it was actually pretty pricey. But the quality is immaculate. It is incredible. And durability really comes along with that. I've never had any Patagonia zippers get detached from the zips. And I know a lot of coats that are over a certain price point. You're probably not going to have that issue. But it's just, they're considering that. So it's not overpriced. It's a good value. Is that another really loud car? Yeah, it is. I just can't. It's just disruption. Anyway, it's incredible how durable these actually are. And this one, for example, it's got some nice flexibility, which is great. It's also got good breathability. Like I said, there's some extra material here that's a little bit thinner. And I have not gone easy on this sweater. I've actually been really rough on it. I've kind of been tough on it. I really break it out when the winter gets colder. I like wearing this under a sort of shell jacket. This combined with a Patagonia shell jacket, the hoodie, the diamond quilted hoodie. I forget what exactly it is. It's a great combo, but they both just hold up so well. And eventually, yeah, you might have a stitch, have an issue, something like that, but Patagonia is going to step in. They're going to say, okay, well, what can we do to keep this product out there and active, right? How can we make this last longer? And how can you get even more value for your money? Because the cost per wear ends up going way down. It is way down what you'd get with other brands, okay? So that brings me to value, all right? That's the third thing I want to go ahead and talk about. Value is a giant consideration because you get what you pay for, okay? Something I really like about Patagonia is it's not like a lot of other brands. I feel like a lot of luxury brands are sort of the classic example of paying for the label, right? Paying for the label. You've probably heard that before. I feel like with Patagonia, it's expensive. It is, but you're also getting a good reflection of, a clothing item that is made well, it's made to last, and the per wear breakdown ends up being really solid. Okay, very, very solid. So I'm a huge fan of that as well. And I think that that is something that really does have to be considered. I think it should be considered more strongly by a lot of people. And oftentimes it's just simply not, okay? A lot of people think if you pay more for an item, it's going to be better quality. And that's not true. If you pay more for a luxury clothing brand, there's not really anything saying it's going to be better per se in terms of build quality, construction, all that stuff than you would get with other items. So that's another aspect I want to go and bring up. And I remember now what I was talking about before. The fourth thing I want to dive into here is essentially the idea of fast fashion and Patagonia not being fast fashion. Now, people call fast fashion clothing, that name, that moniker, if you will, for a couple of different reasons. One of them, obviously, it degrades quickly. You can get it quickly, inexpensively. You can buy a lot of it quickly. And another consideration is oftentimes it doesn't really hold up stylistically speaking, okay? A lot of fast fashion items are very, very trendy. Now, here's the thing. If you are someone who's still growing a lot, if you're fairly young, if you fluctuate in terms of weight a lot, then buying more expensive clothing items, that last a really long time, sometimes it's not going to be worth it because you're going to be saying, okay, well, I'm going to outgrow this. I'm going to have issues fitting into this, especially if if you're going to go through a growth spurt or something like that. That's it's a little bit more tenuous, I suppose. Which is why a lot of kids' clothing is made less expensively. It's not really you could donate the clothing if you grow out of it. You could also resell it, which is another huge advantage. We'll talk about that in a minute, okay? But really, when it comes down to it, the trends that Patagonia partakes in, it's a lot of like outdoorsy stuff, hiking type stuff, and that really never goes away. Kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's more popular than other times, but a lot of the stuff, it's sort of a staple, okay? It looks a little vintagey, some of the items, and I've seen some Patagonia items that are old and that really haven't aged well, okay? But you can kind of look at them and say, hey, what do I think about this? Is this going to last? Pardon, is it going to last? I can't talk. Is it going to hold up well? The Fjord flannel by Patagonia, one of my favorite advantages of that. Fjord flannel is awesome. It is just so classic. It looks great. It's a serious flannel. Probably do a review on that pretty soon. But it really lasts. It holds up. So it's durable, but it also isn't going to go out of style, like next month. And I really think that is fantastic. That is something that can save you a lot of money if you aren't always kind of obsessing over that and really saying, hey, I need to have the next item, the next best thing. But let's talk about the fifth thing I want to go ahead and bring up, and that is resale value, okay? Now, a lot of times clothing, it ages poorly, it goes out of style, it's not durable, so it wears down, and that makes people a lot less interested in actually buying it. Well, with Patagonia clothing, usually it's got a pretty solid retail value because even used, it's got a strong reputation. People know that the products are good. They know the company stands behind the product, and that's also huge, okay? Sort of like buying a car that, and cars pretty much always depreciate, but anyway, buying a car that holds its value better over time, okay? It really is something that can add up a lot. And having items that are still desirable, that are still, people want to get their hands on them even 10, 15 years later, that's giant, okay? So longevity, durability, warranty considerations, obviously style, not really fluctuating a ton in terms of the clothing offered, and then also resale value. The tendency to hold its value is giant. And I think those things are really worth emphasizing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and drop it a like if you liked it. Subscribe, share with your friends. Have a great one. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments section. I'll see all of you in the next one.